You are listening to Thank Me for My Cervix, a podcast where we talk about all things mental health with a focus in the veteran and the military community. I'm your host, Marine Corps veteran Shauna Marie, and today our guest is an Air Force guest, and I'm so excited because being a Marine veteran, my community is typically more Marines, so having someone that was like, yeah, I'll come talk to you from the Air Force is awesome. Just a few reminders before we get started. You can watch all the replays on our YouTube channel at Thank Me for My Cervix on YouTube. You can also rewatch all the replays live on Instagram at Thank Me, the number 4, My Cervix. And you may also, no, that's it, at Spotify. You can watch it all on Spotify. All right, so our guest just joined. As soon as she requests to join the live, I am going to accept her on, and I'm so excited. All right, here she comes. Did I accept it, or did I deny it? I think I... What did I do? Hey, I'm trying to accept the request. Yeah, accept. Accept it. Give it just a minute. Sometimes it's a little glitchy. Yeah.
Hello,
Awesome.
can you hear me?
Yes, I
Okay.
can. I hear you great, actually.
Perfect.
Thank you
I don't know how this would
so
work.
much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I know you're like, are you still at your son's? How did his T-ball go?
So it actually got canceled last minute because, yeah, Texas has a lot of standing water, so the fields were completely covered with water. So another weekend canceled.
Dang,
It's
I'm sorry. That's
okay.
never fun.
No, it's okay.
So we're gonna talk a little bit about your background before we talk. So you are in the Air Force.
Yes,
And I'm in the Marines. So we're gonna have a little bit of differences, and I'm excited to talk about that.
it's a
But
good time.
first, let's talk about a little bit about where you grew up and why you chose the Air Force.
So I grew up in Nebraska, Lincoln and Omaha. My parents were separated since for my whole life, so I kind of grew up going back and forth between those two big cities in Nebraska. That's like the only thing people ever hear about Nebraska.
Yeah, I don't
So,
think you can name
no.
another one.
And then I joined the Air Force because it was a super last minute decision for me. I was waiting until I turned 21 to join the police department in Omaha. My father and my cousin were they were police officers at the time there. My dad's retired, but that was my dream to join. Everything that my family has done is become police officers. And then I got tired of waiting and did an impulsive decision to enlist. And my dad gave me two choices, either Navy or the Air Force. And at the time, the Navy, they had to cut their hair. I didn't want to cut my hair, so I joined the Air Force.
I actually picked the Marines because I didn't want to cut my hair,
Mhm.
and then I ended up getting IT'd a lot in boot camp because of my hair not being in a good enough bun.
Oh my
So I
gosh.
was like, screw it, I'm gonna cut it. So I cut my hair off at boot camp. 10
What a
out of
good time.
10 do not recommend.
Oh,
So
no.
where is the Air Force boot camp?
It's in San Antonio, where I'm stationed at now currently. It's at Lackland Air Force
Okay,
Base.
awesome. And what year did you join?
2014.
Okay.
Yep, coming
Wait,
up on 10 years.
that's impressive.
It's okay. It
I joined
flies, honestly.
I joined in 2011.
Oh, wow,
So
okay.
yeah, and then I probably got out. No, I got so we had like a year lapse when you were getting in and I was getting out.
Okay.
But that's super awesome. So tell me a little bit about what you do in the Air Force, and have you had the same job the entire time?
So my AFSC is 4 and 0. I'm a medic in the Air Force. Currently right now I'm still a 4 and 0, but I'm an instructor at the tech school. So like the AIT for everybody else, airmen in training or army in training. I don't know exactly what the other branches call it, but they're tech training where they learn how to become medics. I'm now an instructor for those coming out of boot camp, learning their trade, and then sending them off to
That's
hospitals.
super awesome. That's really
Yeah,
badass.
it's
And do
really
you like
cool.
you enjoy it?
I do. It is very challenging. It's definitely not, I don't want to say easy as patient care, but with patient care, it's like very centered around taking care of your patient and very medical focused. Whereas now I am not only teaching them how to become an EMT, they become nationally certified as an EMT. And then we teach them nursing specific things like IVs and Foleys and NG tubes, all that kind of stuff. But I have to teach them that, but then I also have to teach them how to do their laundry, how to like be an adult. Some people haven't been away from their families, or they don't know how to do like normal like things that you're supposed to do day to day. So it's a lot of mentoring and teaching all combined into one.
Yeah, absolutely. And like people can like joke or laugh about people who maybe don't know how to take care of themselves like that,
Mhm.
but a lot of people don't have the leadership that they
Mhm.
need, even in nice
Yeah,
homes sometimes. So their
absolutely.
first experiences trying to figure out how to do these things are with their leaders in the military.
Exactly.
So it's being understanding and being like, okay, this is how we do it, and having that patience is something that goes under noticed, I feel like. So
Absolutely.
um
Absolutely.
what I really like too about what your job is I feel like you're super set up for when you do get out. Because do you plan on staying in, or do you want to see what the civilian world has to offer?
I mean, I'm a planner, so I have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So right now, like I love being in the Air Force. I love everything that it has to offer, but I also do have goals outside of the Air Force. So I'm kind of like let me see where they send me next and what that place has to offer. If I feel like I'm not gonna grow in that environment, then I would get out and then grow in that aspect. So if I do get out, my training currently that I have. So we have a CCAF, a Community College of the Air Force. That degree and the training that I have as a medic, I can challenge the LPN board and become an LPN. And then with that degree, for that license, I want to go to nursing school and get my BSN and then become a aesthetic nurse. So like injecting Botox and filler and all that good stuff.
That's super awesome. I love that you have like
Yes.
you're so like you have a plan, but you're
Mhm.
also like I'm gonna go with whatever kind of
Yeah.
happens. But you have a plan for each way that it goes,
Yes.
and I think that that's what it takes to be successful, especially in the military.
100%. If I do whatever hospital I do go to next after this, if I could get the opportunity to work in like a dermatology clinic, because we can work in any
Mhm.
clinic in the hospital, I feel like that would just be an added experience that would help me on the outside with my goals as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely. Do while you're in, I'm not super familiar with how the Air Force works, but are you also taking classes like courses? Have you taken classes, college classes?
I
That's
have I completed my CCAF and then I'm halfway done with my bachelor's. I did take a break because I had a kid while I was in the military and then I was
because it's
focusing on
stressful.
yeah. I was trying to become like a mom and then I became a single mom and then now it was like trying to know this job here. So it was just like a lot that's kind of like set me back, but this year I have no excuse and I just need to start hitting those books again.
I won't lie, I did not take advantage of any of those programs while I was in,
Mhm.
and I kick myself in the butt now every day because I still don't like college, but now I'm older trying to do all of it, and I'm just like, this is not for me.
It's different.
Uh,
It's different as you get older. You're like, I'm not like a spring chicken anymore. It doesn't come as
I feel
naturally.
even worse. It's even harder for me to focus.
Hmm.
Well, because I feel like also when I got out of the military, all of that discipline and all of that stuff that had been instilled in me for like just for a while, I was like, no, I'm
Yeah.
not doing any of this. I'm gonna be wild. I colored
Yeah.
my hair purple. It
Oh
was it
yeah.
was it was a thing, and now I have my neck tattooed, so that's fine.
I love
That's
it.
fine.
I love
I know, me
it.
too. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit
Mhm.
too about what it's like being a mother and being active duty. And I know you said that you were a single mother at a
Mhm,
point,
mhm.
but you're recently engaged too,
I
right?
am, yes. So I did become a single mom after I moved to Texas. My son's father and I did get divorced, and I ended up building my own house and like starting fresh with me and my son Ezra. He is like my pride and joy,
You
my mini me. He's so smart, like
adorable.
so
Oh my
thank
god.
you. Sometimes I'm like, is this really my kid? Because he's so smart. Like he uses his vocabulary is through the roof. It's crazy. But I'm very proud of like the accomplishments that I've made in that aspect to be able to provide for him and give him everything in a new place. And I don't have my family here. I don't have a whole lot of support here. And whereas my family is willing to come down whenever, I can't rely on that because they can't be here every single day, right? So I had to figure it out on my own, and I was able to do that before my fiance and I got together.
Yeah, to touch a little bit more on
Yeah,
that, it goes very underrated what it's like, especially being a mother and a father. This isn't exclusively to mothers,
absolutely.
but to a father in a new area, because I firmly, strongly believe that in the community, like growing in the community is so important and having
Hmm.
that. And every single time you move in the military, you're starting that community over.
Yes,
And
yes.
it's hard and it's scary, and
Yeah.
families may not have that means to come and visit all the time. So now
Yeah.
you're trying to raise this kid, trying to have your own career in life, when in order most of the time, in order to have your own career
Mhm.
in life, you do have to have a form of community behind you, because that's what
Absolutely.
propels you forward. And in the military, that gets ripped away from you
Yeah.
often.
Yeah. 1,000%. When they say it takes a village, that's not an understatement at all.
I couldn't think of it. I was like, there's a saying.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I so much believe in that, and that's why I do, like, there are programs kind of in place. I don't know about
Mhm.
for the Air Force, but in the military they try to put programs in place to try to help build that community. It's just hard. It's
Yeah.
hard
Oh, absolutely.
because it's hard to relate to people in all of those situations, because everyone's
Hmm.
from somewhere
Yeah.
different. And
1,000%.
when you don't have that family, like your family's from the same place, they get you, and it's just harder.
Yeah, it's hard to like, I don't know, especially when it comes to your child, like trusting somebody. So, like, when I first became a single mom, it was hard for me to be like, can you babysit so I can just have like a moment to go get my nails done or something? So I would just take Ezra with me everywhere. Like, I would get my lashes done every week, and he would just sit there with me. And now my lash tech is like loves him as much as I do. So it's like she's a part of my village
I
now.
love
And then I have friends at
that so
work. I
much.
know
I love
he's
that so much.
he is like, and he knows when I get done getting my lashes done. He's like, "I love your lashes, mom." Like he's a gentleman.
I love that.
But
Sometimes when I get dressed up for like an interview or
mm,
something, and I go out, my kids go, "Whoa, mom!" I'm
oh,
like, "Stop!"
a little hype man, a
I
little hype
love
man. That's great.
that you still confidently take time for yourself to do things like that,
1,000%.
because being being feminine women, which is
Mm-hmm.
great, like I enjoy that. We are in a military world where it seems to be more. You have to be more like more. What's the word I'm looking for?
Masculine, I
Yeah,
guess. Yeah,
rowdy, more
yeah.
masculine. Like, I have to get this done. So being able to find that balance,
Mm-hmm.
it's not only difficult because finding that balance in its own, but sometimes the backlash that you get from other people, like, why do you want to have your lashes done? Why do
Mm-hmm.
you want to have your makeup done? And I think it's important as a woman who enjoys being feminine and
Mm-hmm.
beautiful for your mental health, for that,
Oh
for
yeah.
me. It's only for me.
Not only that, but also like taking care of yourself, like look good, feel good. I like live by, but also like it makes you perform better. So for me, like I'm in front of 30 plus students every single day. And if I come in and I look like I just woke up and rolled out of bed and I didn't care about my looks, how are they supposed to look at me and be like, I want to be like her? I don't want to be a medic like that. I want to be an NCO like that. I want to present myself to the highest standard, but not only like even if I don't wear makeup, just taking care of myself, making sure my hair looks good, making sure I'm in regs. So if I am getting my lashes done, I get them done so where they are in regs, and I'm able to mentor my students like, hey, your lashes could be a little bit too long, or if they ask about them, I know the regs so I can help them.
Absolutely.
So not only just looking good as a good example, but knowing exactly how to mentor my students to also stay within those boundaries.
I love that. What is the Air Force's rules on the nail polish?
So it is any skin tone colors. It doesn't have to match your skin tone. So like I could get like a darker beige or a darker brown, but it can't detract from the uniforms basically. So you can't have like neon colors. You can't have like bright reds or
Okay,
bright
so it's
greens or anything like
the
that.
same exact thing as
Yeah.
the Marine
hmm
Corps. Okay.
Yeah, it's great. And then and white, I know white nail polish was like kind of iffy because like, is it a neon color? Is it not? So we like just to be safe, we ask our first sergeant, what is your preference for that? So then once we get that guidance, we're able to tell our coworkers, obviously, and our students.
What about like French tip?
Yep, you can have French tip.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's pretty like across the board, like
yeah.
natural. If you don't mind me asking, what does your fiance do? Are you guys both dual military?
Yes. So this is a great story. My fiance and I work together. We're both instructors. We're both medics. We actually met in boot camp. He was in my brother flight, so we had a brother and sister flight, and then we went to tech school together. He was in another class. Like we were in the same class, but they were separated because we actually did training with the Navy at the time. It was combined. So he was in the other class. We did not really get along. Like we weren't a fan of each other at all. And then we both got stationed in Maryland together, both worked in women's health clinic together. Again, and off the bat, it was kind of like, I know you, not a fan of you. You are kind of annoying. Like we were both thinking the same things about each other. And then eventually we were just like, oh, you know what? You're not so bad. You're kind of cool. I ended up leaving Maryland and I got stationed in Vegas for 3 years. We kept in contact, obviously. We're still really good friends. We had our group of friends from the Women's Health Clinic that we still keep in touch with to this day. And he's the one who got this job first as an instructor. And I was like, what do you think of it? Do you enjoy it? Should I apply? I'm really interested. And he was like, oh, yeah, it's great. Like, you should definitely try. So I applied, got the job, came down here. In the process of me going through my divorce and my house being built, I ended up living with him for some months with my son. Like, we stayed in his house in the spare bedroom. Like, we were just living separate lives, but together as best friends. And I think that's our bond got like a lot stronger there because then once I moved out, we still hung out like here and there, even with my son all the time. And then eventually it was like, okay, like I kind of like this. I kind of miss you. Let's see where this happens. And everybody around us, like my parents, his parents, our friends, were just like, we saw it coming. And we're just like, we didn't.
We did not.
Yeah, we had no clue.
I love that
So,
though. I
yeah.
think the core of a really strong relationship in general is
Mhm.
being friends first.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of like where things are meant to be. They kind of fall in place. So it's
Yeah.
super cute.
Eight
So
years of friendship.
so you're both instructors still.
Yes.
Okay. So you guys don't have to do like deployments or anything like
No,
that. You won't have the.
not currently, no.
How does it work though with scheduling? Because I'm sure as instructors you work long hours, and if you're both working long hours, do you guys still like dedicate time for like date nights? Like what kind of things do you do as far as making sure your relationship stays healthy?
So um we try to like our focus like trying to get our routine first was like the biggest thing because we just moved in with each other last March, and I have Ezra, so I didn't want to put everything on him at first because like he doesn't have a kid, that's not his like obligation. So I was still in that like single mom mindset of like I don't need you, like I want you here, but I don't want to put so much on you that like it pushes you away. But he knew what he was coming into, and he loves Ezra. He's known Ezra since birth, so it wasn't
Right.
anything that he was like scared to jump into. So the biggest thing was figuring out like gym time. So I go to the gym in the morning, he'll stay home and help Ezra get ready for school, and then he'll take Ezra to school. We go to work around the same time. We don't drive together because we still need that alone time. Like that's the balance where we just need to like clear our minds and have like our quiet time. We're at work, same hours. We don't see each other a whole lot unless it's like lunchtime or meetings and stuff like that because we're both usually in the classroom and we have a bunch of classes going on at the same time, so we don't have the same class ever. And then with that, like after work, I'll come home and I'll get Ezra's dinner and stuff ready. He goes to the gym, and then once we put Ezra to bed, that's when we have our time to kind of talk about our day. We don't talk about work for too long, or one person will be like, hey, like, all right, it's time to cut that off. I don't want to talk about what happened at work anymore. And then date nights, they used to happen a lot more frequently when my son's father did live here in Texas, but he actually just moved to Hawaii. So
Oh,
unfortunately, we don't get that like every other weekend to ourselves anymore, but it's great that we have Ezra full time. Like it's a blessing. We
right.
just haven't really prioritized like finding a babysitter or um, anything like that. Usually when my parents come down here, that they'll watch Ezra
I was
while
gonna
we
say
go out.
that's scary. It's scary
Yeah.
if and honestly, how old? If you don't mind me asking,
Yeah.
do you mind me asking how old your son is?
Oh, he's 4.
He's 4.
Yeah.
My
Hmm.
because I was gonna say my kids are an age. They're 8 and 7,
Hmm.
and honestly, like staying home and hanging out with them and doing stuff with them is more fun half the time than trying
Yeah.
to go out and do stuff anyway. So
Exactly.
I love that you kind of found that balance for you guys, and it doesn't even
Hmm.
have to. You're just home, and it works.
Yeah.
I
No,
love
it's
that.
fun. It's cool. And like now that Ezra is like getting older, we're having like more common interest, I would say, rather than like just staying home and like holding a baby, which is great. It's the best feeling ever. But now it's like we're playing Nintendo Switch
I
together. We're
know
all getting competitive, racing each other. We go to Monster Jam, and like I feel like I enjoy Monster Jam more than Ezra does, but
that will
it's a
change
good time.
though. I'm
Hmm.
telling you, from
Hmm.
like 6 to 8 is the changes that they go through mentally is
Uh-huh.
insane.
Oh
It's
gosh.
insane. And they turn into like their own little people, and it's even more fun because I was
Oh
like I was
gosh.
encouraging all. I remember like in the younger ages, you're encouraging them to do all this stuff, and
Hmm.
they are enjoying it because you're enjoying it, but
Right.
really they're like, I have no idea what's going on. But then once they get to like 6, 7, and 8, they start figuring it out.
Oh man, I'm excited, but I'm like also nervous because that's my little
Oh,
like he's my little cuddle bug, and I don't want him to like not want to cuddle me
I
anymore.
tell you that at each stage, I'm like, okay, now you can stop growing. Okay,
Yep.
great. Now you can stop growing. Now.
Oh,
And
jeez.
no, they don't stop
Yeah.
ever. They do not stop. So you mentioned a little bit about going to the
Hmm.
gym, but when it comes to mental health, how else do you take that time to reset?
Ooh, the gym is probably my biggest thing, honestly. Other than that, like this morning I ran some errands and like I went to Target and Hobby Lobby and I went by myself because I told my fiance, I was like, I don't want to have to like hear Ezra whining or like him asking for toys and all that kind of stuff. Like I just need my time to like do something that I enjoy. But I also do have like once a week I go get my lashes done. Sometimes I'll take Ezra with me and sometimes I won't, just depending on our schedule. But um usually when I'm there, like either I'm talking to my lash tech, she's amazing. She is like a therapist to me. But if not, then I'm napping and I'm in like a really deep sleep and I feel like refreshed and reset every time I leave there. And then I also look good when I leave there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
I fall asleep when I get my lashes. I don't get them
Mhm.
done anymore, but when I used to get my lashes done, I would fall asleep, but then I would do that like jumping thing, like when you like
Oh
sleep.
yeah.
And so my lash tech was like, "You have to stay awake." I'm like, I'm trying. It's just so stupid. It feels so good.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
don't
it's
know
so
why. It's
relaxing.
so
Yeah.
nice.
It is fun.
It's just
Um
fun.
I was in therapy a lot last year. It was my first time actually trying therapy. I had a lot of things that I didn't really deal with throughout my like younger adulthood, I would say. And then becoming an instructor and actually like talking about all the things that I've seen or done or been exposed to, it was kind of like I don't know if I should be telling them this stuff. Like, I shouldn't be telling them about like death of the patients. And then I'm reliving it in my head. And I'm like, I should probably go like actually talk to somebody, just to help me like cope with it. And so I don't feel guilty about like talking about it. Cause I'm like teetering along the lines of it's beneficial for them to know what they'll be exposed to, but also like, am I saying too much that it's going to scare them too?
Yeah,
So I did go to therapy for a while, and therapy was hard. It was really tough, like having to face the
I
things that
don't.
I've kind of like bottled up.
I'm such a big preacher of mental health, but
Hmm.
I don't personally like therapy.
Hmm.
Personal, like I like it for counseling for couples. I love it for for people as like becoming a better person. But when it
Hmm.
comes to trauma and speaking on my trauma, I don't I it's hard. It's
Yeah.
still hard. I would prefer
Yeah.
not to. And I have taken that time to talk about my trauma,
Hmm.
but it's no matter how much I talk about it, I do still feel like
Yeah.
I shouldn't be talking about
Yeah.
it. It's strange.
No, I 100% agree. It was like at a point where I was crying like every single time I would go talk to a therapist. And I'm like, why am I putting myself through this? And
I
I actually
know.
quit at one point, but I was like, I did get some good things out of it, but I cannot continue going there once a week and crying. But I'm still like advocate to everybody that I work with, all of my students, because there's a huge stigma on like being in the military, being active duty. If you go get seen, you're going to get kicked out. That's like what everybody is told, and it's not true. Especially with those who have dealt with stuff before joining the military, because you never know where people are coming from or the lifestyles that they had to live, and then coming to an environment where you're safe, like you're taken care of, and now you like obviously you were in basic training where people are just yelling at you and you kind of feel like, well, nobody does care about me. You come into a medical career field where it's like we care about you so much that like we just want you to get what you need to be able to move forward and like really focus on your career.
I
So we have
absolutely love that you said that. And I love that that's your experience. But I will say, from a Marine
hmm
perspective, the reason why they are often afraid to go get help is not because they're afraid to get kicked out, but they're afraid that it's going to affect their advancements,
hmm
like their pros and cons, or how it's going to look when, like, oh, so like someone's trying to pick up staff sergeant or something,
right.
and they're going to therapy. They're like, well, if they're not even happy enough to take care of themselves on their own, how can they provide for other Marines? And I hate that.
Yeah.
I hate that so much. But it's very common in the Marine Corps,
hmm
and that's why I like having the male Marines come on and talk too. Obviously, this
Yeah.
is great, but because they can talk a little bit more on that. And I feel like the
Yeah.
more that we make it more common to talk about how it's okay to go to therapy, figure out what works for you, because we just said how us going to therapy didn't particularly help
Right.
us. Um, what I will say too is if you're going to therapy and it's not helping, you can also directly talk to that therapist or try a different therapist, and in the start of that, be like, hey,
hmm
I these are my traumas that I don't want to speak on right now, but I want to speak on these other things because I still
hmm
want the benefits of therapy. So
Absolutely. So we do have a lot of other resources that don't go on like paper on medical records or they're not documented. So we do have chaplain services. And with this job that I have now, it's amazing because the chaplain is available to all the students all the time. Also available to us if we ever need to talk to them. We have a psychiatrist who also will come around and just do spot checks. Like he walks around our unit and I love seeing him. I don't ever really need to talk, but I'm just like, how are you doing? Like, he's great. And then we also have like our family readiness center that also has free services for therapy as well. Does not go on your medical record whatsoever. So,
I love that.
mhm.
I'm sure they have something like that for the Marines too. So I might do some looking into
Yeah,
that to see, because I actually have had a few male Marines like reach out and are like, hey, talk about this on the podcast, see if there's anything that anyone will say, because
yeah,
they are paying for therapy out of pocket
yeah,
just so that it's not going on their records. And I really just don't like that.
yeah. That's not really fair too. I mean, obviously, when from a medical's perspective, when you see like mental health on a record, you can't access it. So if I have a patient and they have it on their record, I can see that they went to get seen. I'm not allowed to click on it. It is all like under it's not disclosed to anybody. So for me though, like when I went to get seen, I got diagnosed with ADHD. And that was like the biggest benefit for me because now I'm able to focus on my job so much more, and I'm able to give 100% to my job when I'm there because I have the medications that I need, and I can still deploy. Like it doesn't keep me from deploying, it doesn't keep me from advancing in my career in other ways. If anything, it makes me a better performer.
I love that so much. I love that because that's what people think like a diagnosis is, like a bad thing. Oh, I got diagnosed with something, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
No,
No.
all this simply is like, this is what we think would benefit you. Here's some medication.
1,000%.
That's it. You can
And
go
it doesn't
talk
always mean forever, too. Like, I had postpartum anxiety really bad, not on those medications anymore because it was that moment in time in my life. And I had to like figure out how to cope with that. The medications helped me. And then I weaned off of them. And now I'm doing so
I
much better.
love that. I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Thanks.
Uh, was there anything that this is a platform where we can chat about anything. Was there anything that you wanted to talk about today?
Ooh, I didn't really think of that.
I know. I put people on the
Mm.
spot.
I know, right? I was like, that wasn't, I don't really know.
Oh,
I
no
guess
worries.
I had a student in the past who was prior Marines, and she actually opted into going through Air Force boot camp. Like she came in as essentially like a non-prior service student instead of coming in as a prior service, because we get a lot of those that come from every single branch that come into the Air
Yeah.
Force and through our pipeline. But she had mentioned how like the Marine boot camp, I asked her, I was like, how much different is it really? Like, because everybody makes jokes about the Air Force and they call us the Chair
Mm-hmm.
Force, and like it's great. I don't take any offense to it, but um I was like, is it like that much different, the boot camp perspective? And she said that Marine boot camp was physically a lot more challenging, whereas the Air Force boot camp was mentally a lot more challenging. I'm kind of like interested in like what aspects I guess really would be more. One of my students, my old student, she actually just put her name on there in the comments. She was amazing. She was a rock star. But what exactly like would the differences be for you per se? Like, I guess I don't know how I'm
Yeah,
trying to word it. Like,
I know
what
what's
was the
funny
mental
is
challenges for you, I guess, for the Marine boot camp?
what's funny is I was actually an air winger
Okay.
in the Marine Corps, and I always joke now because I wish I would have joined the Air Force a little bit. I enjoyed the title Marine. I enjoyed the
Mhm.
community that I got from it. But I
Right.
basically did an Air Force job in the
That's
Marine
fun.
Corps. And I what I'll say is, so as far as specifically boot camp, it was physically demanding, and
Right.
I was very out of shape. I like my listeners know that I went to boot camp overweight, so I was a half racks where I only had half the amount of food that everybody else had because I was fat.
Wow.
Yeah, and then there's a thing called ITing, intense
Mhm.
training, and they just pull people randomly and just make you basically do burpees and jumping jacks until you throw
Mhm.
up. And I got to do that a lot, mostly because I was overweight, but also because I jacked up my hair a
Oh.
lot in a bun
Oh.
until I cut it off. I might share the photo.
Oh God.
There's a photo of me at boot camp, like from the back, and my haircut. There was a girl in boot camp, and honestly, I don't even remember her name, but she was like, "Oh, I'm a hairstylist. I got you.
Oh my
I'll cut
gosh.
your hair for you." No, no,
No.
she literally put it like in a thing like this, and then like snipped.
Oh, it was
Yeah, and
like chopped.
they
Like
don't have hairstylists at Paris Island,
really?
so
That is crazy. We used to have like if our trainees would want to go get their hair cut, they could go to the hair salon on base, cut and colored. Like where there was one trainee in my flight who came back with her haircut short, but it was like colored, like she had a blowout and everything.
What? Okay, they
Yes.
have a barber. They're like, if you
Yeah.
want to go see our barber, I was
Oh
like,
my
so my choice
gosh.
was a barber for my haircut or this girl who claimed that she could cut hair.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it took a long time for my hair to grow out after that. Anyway,
Yeah.
I cried forever in my rat after my hair was
Yeah.
cut. Where was I going with this? Oh, yeah, physically. By the end of it, though, no, I still sucked. I I was gonna say I physically got better, but no.
Hmm.
I honestly didn't get physically fit competitively until I was in C school.
Right.
For aircrafts. But yeah, physical like Marines. I can see how it's physically demanding. I feel like boot camps across the board probably have similar mental challenges
Hmm.
because you're still like me and you are both ripped from our homes, put in an area where there's a bunch of females,
Yeah.
who don't know anybody. We're starting completely over. We're being force fed all this information. We're being yelled
Mhm.
at. It's all the same as far as that goes, and all equally sucks.
Yeah.
Not fun. But I will say, yeah, I mean, I don't know what is your guys' physical requirements? Do you have a yearly requirement in the Air Force that you have to meet?
So if you get above like so our PT test is scored out of like 100%, so like 100 points. If you get a 90 or above, then you only have to do your PT test every year, like 365 days. If you get below a 90, I think you have to get above a 75, I want to say. I've never gotten below a 90 because I'm anxious about it. um, if you get below a 90, then you have to do it again in 6 months.
Okay.
So that's like our requirements, but they just changed our PT test. Like they give you so many options now because the traditional push-ups and sit-ups is not, I don't know, I feel like it's not really gonna promote a really healthy lifestyle. You can just binge like trying to pass your PT test, right? I know they had spoke about making monthly requirements towards meeting like fitness time. So if you like log your fitness activity, if you like run outside or like logging so many hours a month, I feel like that would promote a more healthy military.
I love that.
Yeah, but it's once a year or every 6 months.
I love that. Um, so because someone commented about like working out at boot camp, kind of like where you're like forced to.
Hmm.
And then in the fleet, a lot of people don't do like the morning PTs. Do
Yeah.
you guys dedicate time to the personal training together, like physical training together in the Air Force?
Sometimes it depends on the unit that you're at, but they in our AFI it says that your units have to allot you 2 hours per week for PT time. So you leave an hour early to go home and do PT. So if Manning allows, then we are allowed to leave early and do that. But I haven't been to a whole lot of units where we actually do PT together. When I was deployed, I was stateside deployed the first time. I was twice stateside deployed. The first time we did do group PT once a week. And then when I got to my base at Nellis in Nevada, they used to do squadron PT and then I think they took it away like 2 weeks after I got there. So it's not a whole lot. Like I see the army out there every morning doing group PT, like the instructors doing it too. But for the Air Force, when you're in training, you do PT together, but once you're operational, not so much that I've seen.
Yeah, I was gonna say too. I remember in the Marine Corps, like there were people who woke up in the morning to PT, but I was never one of
Hmm.
them ever. If Manning allows, I'm sorry, reading the comments too.
You're good.
Separation anxiety from home, fear of missing out. Yes, shock of new demanding environment. Combining these things, I agree.
Hmm.
If Manning allows, my if Manning allows, my whole 10 years, and I've only been in one unit where we had mandatory PT once a week, and I honestly loved it. When I was in C school, it was every day.
Hmm.
Um, and I went from I hated it. I hate
Yeah.
it was at like 4 a.m. They would gather us in our like
Hmm.
little green on green, and it was freezing because it was Florida, but it was like 4 a.m.
Right.
and then make us run together, and
Hmm.
I hated it. But then by the end of it, when I was actually good at it, like by the
Hmm.
time I enjoyed it, and
Yeah.
I was like stoked for it. What's weird is like I can specifically remember the way it smelled in the mornings, like
Oh
before
yeah.
PT, because is that a weird
No,
thing to remember?
like
Like
I'm
salty.
back at where I did my tech school. Like I'm teaching there now, and I'm walking down the same streets, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this smell is the exact same from when I was here.
So funny. I was like, I went to my sister is also a Marine, and when
Okay.
I went back to see her graduate, I even like those smell. It was like instant flashbacks. I was like, oh my god.
That is so funny. I will say, like, I do sometimes I wish I love being in the Air Force, and I think it has been like giving me the greatest opportunities and the greatest like quality of life, and like being able to care for my son as much as I have been able to. Like if he gets sick, I can stay home with him, and like nobody's gonna like fault me for it, right? But sometimes I feel like if I would have gone Marines, I would have gotten a more military experience where we would do PT all the time, like every morning. But then again, would I have my son? Would that have been something that I would have like had a goal for if I had that type of lifestyle? But
That's so
I
funny because we're
do,
like on opposite
yeah,
ends. Because I got the military
yeah.
experience, I'm just like, what? Why did I do that when I could have just done the Air Force?
Yeah, no, I love it. I do, but it's all about the discipline that you have. Because like when I was in tech school, I was in the best shape of my life. Like you could see my obliques like poking through, like amazing. And now it's like, "Ah, I wish I had
Now
that
I
body, but I'm not
have
waking
to work
up."
so hard to get like a tiny little ab. I'm like,
Right? And then eating the defect food, so you're like starving yourself because you don't want to eat the same thing all the
I
time.
know. All right. Well, I wanted to thank you so much for coming
Yeah.
on today and taking the time to talk to me. If our listeners want to follow you or get more information on you, where can they find that
Um,
information?
you can just follow me at Aubrey Renee, Renae. I know everybody spells it different. You can just DM me and ask me. I'm very open to answering questions in my DM, especially when it comes to military mental health stuff. Even if I don't know you, I answer a lot of my
Yeah,
DMs.
you do. I know. When you responded back to me, I was like,
uh,
oh, I was like, yes. I was so excited. I was like, I'm so
if
stoked.
there's one
All
One
right.
thing
Well,
I love is networking. So even if you don't want to talk about military stuff, I'm here to just network and talk about life
me
and
too.
everything.
Me
Yeah,
too. I love meeting people and talking to
a thousand
people.
percent.
And I, again,
Yeah.
thank you. Going out in your car just to talk to us. I'm
No, I
so
love it.
grateful.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
Goodbye.
Bye bye.